Welcome to the Powerlifting and Power Ballads podcast, where we bring you a weekly dose of powerlifting news, tips, and training advice with a touch of 80s rock ballads. This podcast is presented by Team Roar Powerlifting, your source of the most comprehensive coaching and meet day preparation. Here are your hosts, Josh Rohr and Laura Sturm.
Welcome to episode 173. Unfortunately for all of you listening, I'm flying solo today. Laura wasn't able to make it. So we'll just kind of dive right in here. We had a couple questions come in. Well, we'll just do one of them. We'll save one for next week. The question was, how much do y'all, let me read it verbatim. How much do y'all think someone should bulk in the off season? In general, my rule is 5%. So I typically don't like people to bulk to or train at more than 5% over their weight class. So, for example, if you're a 75 kilo lifter, that's, 165, I would not typically have you bulk or train at anything over like 173, 174. A couple reasons there. One, every time you manipulate body weight, your leverages do change. So we don't want to deviate too far from our normal competition body weight because of the change in leverages. So depending on your competition is, like if it's further away, like if you got 6 months or so, it's okay to potentially go a little heavier than that. But we want the majority of our actual training to be within that 5% of our weight class. So again, that's my general rule. It's not a set in stone rule. It's not probably the number that every coach would tell you, but if you're asking me, that is my my kind of hard rule there. So yeah, that's the main takeaway there is stay within 5% of your weight class. Pro Series stuff. We have a couple updates on the Pro Series. Number one, the leaderboards have been updated from the Masters World Cup. So if you go to pro.usapowerlifting.com, you can look at those current leaderboards and see, where you rank if you're a pro card holder that has done a Pro Series event this year. If you are still trying to get on the leaderboard, the next Pro Series event is actually this weekend, Central and Midwest Regionals. So there'll be pro cards up for grabs for the best lifter in the Open, male and female, and the best lifter in the Masters, male and female. Those four lifters will earn or renew their pro card if they're already a pro card holder, if they hit the minimum dots. The Pro Finals, this is a big one. Pro Series Finals were just announced. They're going to be December 14th and 15th in San Antonio, Texas. So the finals will not be part of the Arnold this year. They will actually be at the end of the year, which actually kind of makes sense because, in years past, the 2022 Pro Series finals were at the 2023 Arnold. So putting them at the end of the year, I think makes sense. And then, the Arnold will be, still a pro qualifier and with the ability to get you ranked on the leaderboard for the 2025 Pro Series. So it's good stuff. I think it's going to be pretty good. The schedule's already been released for it too. So lifters kind of know when they're going to be competing and how many, if they can do multiple events. The way the schedule's laid out, it looks like lifters can pretty much do every event that they qualify for. So as an example, on Saturday, session 1 is raw bench only, and that's Open and Masters. So if you happen to qualify for Open and Masters, you can actually sign up and enter both, but just compete once. So that is an option there if you're an Open and Masters lifter that qualifies. Session 2 is Raw Masters. So that'll be 10 men, 10 women that qualify. Then session 3 is the Raw Open, and that's going to be, again, top 10 men, top 10 women qualify for that on the leaderboard. Sunday, session 1 is going to be the equipped bench. So that's going to be the Open and Masters competing together. Same thing with the raw bench. If you qualify as an Open and Masters, you can enter as an Open and enter as a Master and just lift once for both. The Sunday session 2 is the equipped powerlifting, and that's going to be Open and Masters as well. So it'll be top 5 men and women Open and top 5 men and women Masters. So we don't know the schedule, but my assumption is it'll be the flight A would be 5 Open women, 5 Masters women, Flight B would be 5 open men, 5 masters men. Same thing. If you qualify for both, you can actually sign up for both and just lift once. A lot of questions have been coming in about that. But if you go to pro.usapowerlifting.com, that is the website that has all the leaderboards, a list of all the pro card holders, upcoming events, etc. And then newly released also, this is kind of semi-breaking news. USA Powerlifting actually put out a Pro Series Instagram page. So it's going to have continual updates there with Pro Series specific things. And you can find that at USA Powerlifting _pro. So good stuff there. We've had 2 weeks of powerlifting situations now. So we want to kind of go over those and just kind of chime in on what we would do. Well, me. So the first one was posted 2 weeks ago on the Team Roar Instagram. And the situation is this: you are in second place. You turned in 275 kilos for your third deadlift, which is a 2.5 kilo PR. And it's probably close to your limit for the day. The lifter in first place just missed their third deadlift. And as you look at the board, you realize that if you increase your third deadlift to 285 kilos and make it, you will win on body weight. So 285 is 10 kilos over the 275. The question is, what do you do? So my natural instinct for me, there's a couple things to consider here. And a lot of this information was deliberately left off to, one, spark conversation and make sure people are thinking of these things. But a couple things, like, is second place secured? If you miss, can you potentially end up in third or fourth place if somebody else makes it? That's a consideration. What is at stake? Is there, are you trying to hit a qualifying total? Is the 275, we already said it's a PR, but does that get you to your qualifying total or whatever, total milestone you might be trying to hit? If you miss, do you miss out on that? So, I mean, there's some factors there, but as a general rule, if you have nothing to lose, and what I mean by nothing to lose, if, second place is already secured, you already hit a qualifying total or whatever, if that's in play, I'm putting it on because, placing wise, you have nothing to lose. Yeah, your total will take a hit, but at the end of the day, it's a competition. So your goal is to go in and compete. And if you've already secured second place, then why not throw a Hail Mary to try to jump into first, now I will say this too. I put up a poll on a Team Roar Instagram also. And the question was, would you rather win with 40 kilos under your PR total or hit a 30 kilo PR total and get second? And the poll results were actually closer than I thought. 77% said they'd rather go for the title, and even though it's, under their PR, 23% said they'd rather hit the PR. So I think there's something to be said here too. Like, my opinion is I would go for it every time. However, if I have a lifter that, they're still new, or, they need to build momentum mentally, we already know based on the situation here that it says 275 is a 2.5 kilo PR and probably the limit for the day. So I think there's a high probability we miss at 285. If it was a slam dunk, we obviously put on 285, but I think 285 is probably like an 80% miss, 80% chance we miss it, but we're taking that chance at, potentially getting it and getting first with nothing to lose. So anyway, what I'm getting at is, if you have a lifter that's maybe has not made their third deadlift the last couple of meets, or hasn't put together a really solid total the last couple of meets, like, then we might look at the PR, because the mental game is huge. So there's not a one right and wrong answer on this, and I think that's the point too. If you ask Josh Rohr what Josh Rohr is going to do, it could be 300 kilos, less than 1% chance you're going to make it. I'm putting it on if I have nothing to lose, because I don't care what my total ends up. I'm competing for the title. Other people, that's not their priority. So I think, from a coaching standpoint, you got to recognize that too. And my personal opinion may not be the opinion that needs to actually happen if you're coaching a lifter that feels differently. So anyway, it's enough on that one. The second situation that was posted last week is as follows. At your gym, you overhear two guys that you do not know talking about how excited they are for their upcoming powerlifting meet. You observe them squatting very high and not locking out their knees. What do you do? This is a tough one because part of me wants to say just ignore it and mind your own business. But on the flip side, I see a lot of people bomb out or have very poor performances in their first meet and sometimes get turned off from powerlifting altogether because of it. So I would rather say something, let them be offended, pissed off at me or whatever, but at least I know that they know the standard. Whether they choose then to listen or not, that's on them, but they can't claim ignorance because they were told. So I would politely, walk up and just say, offer just like, hey, I couldn't help but overhear your conversation. I'm a fellow competitor, and we often see a lot of people, miss referee commands, things like that. And I just want to let you know that, your squats are a little bit higher than competition standard. And I'd be happy to show you what that is if you're interested. I just want to make sure you're aware of the rules and of the standards so that you can have a good event. And I'll kind of leave it at that and leave the ball in their court. If they're like, nah, forget it, I don't want to hear from you, that's fine. Walk away. You offered. If they say, yeah, would love for you to show us, what the standard is, I'd be happy to do that too. Yeah, I don't think there's really a right and wrong on this either. A lot of people would say just mind your own business, but I would rather somebody be a little offended that I chime in and give unsolicited advice if it can potentially give them a better experience at the meet. So that's kind of my thought there. We did have a new lifter tip that we had last week too. And this one is this is going to be debatable by some people, but the tip goes is this: 99% of the time, if you miss an attempt, the correct strategy is to repeat the same weight. So, for example, if your second squat was 200 kilos and you miss it on depth or flat out miss it, whatever, 99% of the time you would take 200 again on your third attempt. 1% of the time, the correct strategy is to increase the weight. If you're not sure which one is the correct call, that means you're in the 99% boat and should repeat. So basically that's I don't know how to say this. In general, the by the book play is to repeat after you miss. The few situations, and there's more than a few, there's more than I'll mention. One example would be if you miss your second attempt deadlift and you need to go up for the win, if second place is already secured or whatever it is, it's kind of the same situation as the first powerlifting situation we just talked about. There's obviously inherent risk there. The higher the weight, the more chance of missing. But there are a few scenarios too with equip lifting, for example. Sometimes an opening squat or an opening bench press, a lifter might be just shy on depth and a little bit more weight helps them get down to depth. Sometimes a lifter has trouble touching their chest in a bench shirt. So it's not uncommon that you see an equip lifter miss their opening squat and go up a little bit, or miss their opening bench and go up a little bit. When that happens, that's typically a sign that they didn't touch or they didn't hit depth. So there are a few specific situations where that's the correct call, and actually the safer call, which is kind of ironic, but that's just how it works. So I think that's pretty much it. Like I said, the Pro Series continues this weekend with the Central and Midwest regionals. So check those out. You might see a shakeup on the leaderboards there too. And just to recap, I guess for everybody on the Pro Series, for the Open Full Power and the Masters Full Power, the top 10 on the leaderboard at the end of the year, or I guess as of October 20th, I believe is the deadline, make it to the finals. All the bench only and the equipped full power, the top 5 on the leaderboard as of October 20th make the finals. So check out pro.usapowerlifting.com to see those leaderboards, see where you rank, and see if you need to get into another meet to get a little higher on the board. I think that's it. We're going to call it a day there. If you made it through this one, I commend you for listening to me by myself. Definitely not as entertaining as when Laura's here. But appreciate you listening. And if you wouldn't mind leaving us a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, we would appreciate it. And you can follow us on Instagram at PL Ballads Podcast. And I guess we will catch you all next week. Later.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode of the Powerlifting and Power Ballads podcast, please remember to subscribe and share it with your friends.